Hey, everybody, welcome to Real Thoughts with Bob Benham. Time for another episode. Oh, my goodness, we're getting this thing going pretty good. I'm glad too. Uh, it's become a good thing for me to get some of this stuff off my chest. You know, boy, I tell you what, it's kind of a good therapy session in a way, for me anyway, to get talking about things. Quite a bit to talk about, as a matter of fact. I kind of did me a little bit of an outline of what I want to talk about, and so that way I don't get so long-winded about things and kind of go way off and all different directions like I have been. So this time, I want to kind of talk about uh, something that's really important, and I think we're getting away from in this country. And it's something that's very, very important, as a matter of fact, and that's freedom. Um, eh, when you look at all the different laws and regulations and rules that are placed on all of us here in the United States, we don't have a whole lot of freedom. Um, a lot of this, there's just way too many rules, regulations, laws that restrict what we can and can't do. I mean, you look at things like property taxes. I mean, you got to pay taxes on your house and property. And what happens if you don't? They take your house away from you. So you don't really own it. You're just renting the land and property uh, that you're on. So they say, oh, but they talk about home ownership. Well, no, you don't own your home. You're just renting it from the government. They own it. If you don't pay for that property, the tax on that property, they come and take it from you. So where is that freedom? It's not there. Second, I mean, same with a car. Um, you o- yeah, you own the car, which is kind of a nice thing. So, uh, but you still have to pay every year for a license plate for it. And if you don't, you will definitely get stopped by the police for not having a license plate. You will get a ticket for not having that license plate. Now, granted, the ticket doesn't really cost a whole lot of money, but it's going to cost double what the license plate would have cost you, um, if not triple. I'm not sure what the fines are for that anymore. When I was working back in the early 2000s, before I had to retire, a ticket for no license plate or no valid registration on your vehicle back then was what, about $70 total for the ticket. That was fine and court costs. Um, and back then, for a license plate, you paid, I think it was like 35 or bucks a year for the plate. So you're talking double for not having it registered. So um, I have no idea what that stuff runs now. You're talking 21, 22 years later. So, but you're talking, like I said, you're talking, d- you have to pay the government to be able to drive your vehicle on the road. And then you talk about to put gasoline into your vehicle, you're talking, I think it's now up to 60 cents a gallon that goes to the federal government. And I think it's like another 20 or 30 cents a gallon that goes to the state government for taxes. That's a lot of money. So, you wonder why gas prices are so high. A lot of it goes to the government. What are you going to do about it? They're going to get you any way they can. And then if you own an electric vehicle, you're going to pay an extra, like I was saying, it's like $45 a year for a registration for a car. And now they're charging, some states are charging, well, I think it's California, as a matter of fact. I think they're up to like $200 or $300 now for a registration for an electric vehicle, because you don't pay taxes on gasoline, so you have to pay the extra for a license plate, so that way you make up for the taxes. You're not paying for gasoline, so they can use it for roads. Now, who didn't think about that when they were pushing for the electric vehicles? This is the thing about liberals, okay? They don't think past the end of their nose. They don't think and past the end of their. They don't see the big picture of what they're doing. Okay, they talk about clean energy all the time, and all that stuff, and every proposal about their clean energy is a bunch of bull crap. Every proposal. The windmills. Those windmills are hideous. They take away from the aesthetics of the landscape. I mean, I have traveled to the West. I've lived out West, and what once was beautiful landscape and stuff it's gone. It's not beautiful anymore, because all you see are those stupid frickin' windmills everywhere. Hideous. Uh, Same with the solar panels. They're everywhere. Fields of them. What was once farms are now solar panel farms. They got this one solar thing out. It's just outside Las Vegas in Henderson, where they have this huge tower, and they have all these mirrors directed at this tower that supposedly heats water and generates power, steam power and stuff. Biggest freaking fraud in the world that's been done to our country by the green people. It's crazy. And I think it cost like $1 billion or something, or $2 billion to build, and now they're trying to hide the cost of all that. And there was a big story about it in the news. It was last night or this morning or something like that. Insane, absolutely insane. Part of that the whole Green New Deal thing, but it's just, I mean, we have no freedom because they're taking it away from us with all these regulations, pushing all this garbage down our throats. And if we were free, they would let us make the choice of what we want to do. And the people don't want this stuff because Politicians think they know better, and they don't. Same with actors. The other day, Alec Baldwin came out and said, "Well, the people don't know anything. They're dumb." What? What makes you think you're smarter than me? You're not smarter than me. All you know how to do is read a script, memorize a few lines, and act. I bet I can act better than you. You're just a dumb ass actor. And you know how to run your mouth. Big deal. Go hide in New York somewhere. That's all you're good for. But I mean, it's just insane the way these people are. I mean, useless. Actors are totally useless, and they found out in this last election that they are useless. So now they got to try to all this rage garbage to try to make themselves relevant. And it's so funny to watch. I mean, this is just hilarious to watch. But it's all about the people. This last election actually voted for freedom. They actually voted for freedom because the last when President Trump was elected in 2016. Oh gosh, I remember. What was it? He was in office. Oh gosh, I think it was that they did that first 100 days thing, and I remember. I don't remember. It was some office in the White House, and they had it wasn't a press conference or anything, but I remember they had some kind of media thing, and they had a thing that showed the amount of regulations that he had already cut, and said these are no longer in effect, and they had stacks of paper it was like there was two stacks that went from the ceiling to from the floor to the ceiling, two stacks that were regulations that were cut already. That was just in the first 100 days. Insane that's that much. We don't need to be. There's no way we should be living under that kind of craziness. No way. So it's all about that's not freedom, people. That's just not freedom. We don't need to be living under that kind of rule. There was more people talk about the tyranny and stuff of the kingdoms back in the 1600s and 1500s and how bad it was. They didn't have that many rules back then. There weren't that many rules. The only difference was that the king could say this or that, and the people had to do it because they didn't have a way to fight the king's armies. That's all that was. But now, there's actually stuff written on the books that would make it difficult for us. Because now they could come in and say, hey, you're under arrest. You're going to jail for violating this rule, that rule, whatever rule. And it shouldn't be that way. And it just shouldn't be that way. There's just way too many rules. way too many rules. And it's gotten out of control, totally out of control, just like everything else with our government. I mean, it's all about a bunch of power hungry morons, and they are morons, by the way, because most of our lawmakers are lawyers, okay, and this should tell you something. Every one of them, yeah, I won't say every one of them. I'll say about I'll be generous and say 80% of them uh, are elected officials because they sucked at being a lawyer. If they didn't suck at being a lawyer, they would be working for some law firm somewhere making some good money rather than making the hundred and whatever $1,000 that they're making right now in the House of Representatives or in the Senate or whatever. But that's what they're making because they suck as a lawyer. So they had to become elected officials and do that garbage and make our lives miserable. And then they create all the problems that we have right now. And then they come out and say, "Oh, well, you got to elect me to fix the problem." You just created the problem. It's like the last 4 years, we have all these issues that are just nuts, and then you got Kamala Harris coming out and going, "I'll fix it on day one." You just created it all. The last 4 years, you could have been fixing it from day one 4 years ago. But you just created this whole mess. And now you're going to say, I'll fix it on day one? What? Come on now. Please. Do you think we're that stupid? Okay. Oh, well. Anyway, this whole thing. I mean, it's just insane how these politicians and people with money and power really view those of us that live the daily struggle. And it's just incredible how they have their little bubble and how they live in that little bubble, and they have absolutely zero clue to what's outside that bubble. It's just absolutely insane. You would think that, I mean, they absolutely have no contact with anybody outside that world that they're in. And you'll find maybe one or two out of 100 of them that are pretty much maybe down to earth, that have some kind of clue to what the world is. But for the most part, no, there's, they talk about, you've got those few now that are saying, "Oh, it's too crazy in LA. I got to get out of there." And they move out to Montana or Wyoming or something like that. They say, "I need that peace and quiet and blah, 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 blah." And they just take their garbage with them to those states. They're not interested in uh, knowing what life is really like, because they still have that however many acres with a nice big huge gate and fence all the way around the place, and they might go out grocery shopping, but for the most part, they mostly have somebody that goes out for them and does that kind of stuff, so they don't get recognized anywhere. Um, so they're not really engaged with anybody real. Um, it's a sad situation. It really is. Um, it and a good Here's a really good example. I've been following NASCAR for a long time, and I remember going to NASCAR races and being able to literally rub shoulders with the NASCAR Cup drivers, uh, talking to them after the races, getting their autographs, uh, whatever. I mean, and they were in a hurry to get out of the racetrack, to get home and get away from, because they spent the whole weekend there. They didn't want to be around anymore. They were tired and all that, and understandable. But they uh, they generally were halfway decent people. There were a few that were standoffish or kind of, get out of my way. I don't want to deal with you kind of, people that, just idiots. And, but for the most part, there was a lot of them that were just, very accommodating, and would be willing to talk or whatever. And as the years went by, all of a sudden you would see more enclosed areas where the drivers would be, with privacy fencing. All of a sudden, there were bridges being built where the drivers would go over where the from away from the fans, so they could go directly to like the garages, from their area, like their motor coach area or wherever, and stay away from the fans and all that stuff, and or to the helipads to catch their helicopters to get out of there instead of their rental cars and driving out. I mean, it just got more and more where they were separated from the fans. Um, Instead of, seeing them and getting their autographs as they were walking around, they had it where you would have to get a ticket and see them at their souvenir trailer for 1 hour. Usually it was race morning or after final practice the day before for 1 hour. And they would give away 50 to 75 tickets. And you were allowed to bring one item or purchase one item from their trailer to have the driver autograph. And that was it. And the driver generally didn't even look up at you, say hi or nothing, wouldn't take a picture with you or whatever. It was head was down, signed it, and handed it to you. Signed, dad, sign, and that's all it was. And that's just how things had progressed. And then all of a sudden, they were in their little bubble. They could care less about the fans. They'd sit there in the little pickup trucks going around after driver introductions and just wave their hands and stuff, and oh, hi, and act like they were. And now there's nobody in the grandstands. So now all of a sudden, hey, there's nobody here to watch us. We got to do something about it. And you got a couple of drivers now that are, well, when they win the race, they go up and grab the checkered flag from the flag man, and they find the nearest kid nearby and hand it to that kid. Oh, we got a fan now. It's a vicious circle, but it just goes to show you that how they built that bubble. And it's just ridiculous how it's become, and it can't go like that. It can't remain like that. And and it takes away freedom to interact, freedom to be with people, freedom to socialize, freedom to do whatever. And it's I'm sorry, but it can't stay that way. And the people, I got to give the people of this nation credit. We voted for freedom this time. We said no more of what's going on. We're losing our freedom. We need freedom. And that is the sweetest thing that has happened. I just wanted to touch on one other thing, and that is with all the stuff about diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's funny that all these stores and employers and companies are all of a sudden they're walking all that stuff back and getting rid of those policies and stuff like that. And I'm kind of laughing about it because they didn't need that stuff to begin with. And I could have told them that in the beginning before they even put any of that junk into place, because everybody, and it's been like this since day one. Everybody in this country has an equal opportunity. Nobody has. There has never been a time where no one has had an equal opportunity. Now, there's been many arguments that have said, like, the blacks have been shut out of things, and there were times where there were idiots, and that's what they were, idiots, that were bigots and did their stupid stuff and excluded blacks from this, that, whatever. But that's all changed. It's been changed for, golly, years, well over a half century. And for them to say now that racism is systemic, playing all this garbage is that it's garbage. With my experience as a police officer, my experience in the Navy, and now it's going back 40 years, I didn't see much racism. It just wasn't there. And it really upsets me when I hear about that, when I hear this stuff, when they're, oh well, it's systemic racism and it's built into to everyone's lives, and if you're white, you're automatically racist and all that garbage. And oh my God, I'm here to tell you right now, if there's one thing that doesn't make me so mad, it's being told that I'm a racist. Because I was not raised that way, or my family. And excuse me. Um, to hear that is just uh, crazy. And I know the people I associate with, and I know and I'm friends with, are not that way at all. Um, we don't look, everyone I'm around, we treat everybody as if we're just friends. We're together. It doesn't matter if you're black, brown, Asian, whatever. I don't care. You're a person, period. We all bleed red. It doesn't matter. I don't care. You know, this whole thing of division and stuff like that is crazy. And the only people that do it, if you're part of it to the point where you have to partake in all these demonstrations and all these protests and whatever, you're part of the problem. You're part of the problem. Because all you're doing, there's a handful of people that are making millions and millions of dollars from it. Are you getting any money by taking part in any of these protests? Well, yeah, there are some, because George Soros is providing a lot of the money to these protesters. There's paid protesters that are doing this, and they're making some money. But then there's those that are, followers that are uh, brainwashed into the cause, that come running in and partake, and they're thinking, oh yeah, this is all true, and it's the farthest thing from the truth, because they've obviously not lived life and have ever traveled anywhere away from their house to know what's going on in the world. But you've got these handful of race baiters like Al Sharpton and his Now Network, and all these uh, Jesse Jackson and Benjamin Crump and all these morons that are just, all they do is play the race card to get rich. Period. That's all they're there for. They're there to make money off it. Now, I Are there tragic instances where there's something that happens and it shouldn't have happened, and like in the case of oh gosh, I'm trying to think of something that I know people would probably say, "Oh, well, look at George Floyd." Well, George Floyd uh, wasn't really a good example because um, he had so much fentanyl and stuff in his system that to blame it on that police officer was not. That's a bad example because George Floyd, uh, he caused his own death. It wasn't the police officer. Because if you really, I'm here to tell you that officer, as long as you were hearing, "I can't breathe," George Floyd could breathe. Okay. He was breathing. If he couldn't breathe, you wouldn't have heard anything at all. And that's just fact. Let's see. I'm trying to think here. Can't even come up with something right now. But anyway, um, and the funny thing is like Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton and that they form all these nonprofit organizations that they get rich off of. Now, have you thought about that one? How is it that they can form a nonprofit organization, a charitable organization, supposedly, and all these donations flow into it in the name of charity? How much money comes in and how much truly goes out to people that actually need money? I'd like to know that. Maybe you should check into that. What is that? That Charity Now or something website where all them they investigate or put out where money goes and from charities. I might have to check into that. But anyway, all these nice, wonderful race baiters that do that, and it's only a handful. When you look at, they always talk about how the police are just so racist against blacks and stuff like that, and just murder so many black people. People, let me tell you something right now. If that was the case, there would be murders in the street, so many and daily, that it would be sickening. If that was the case, the media would be having a field day. There are so few police involved shootings in this nation where suspects are killed. It's the statistics don't bear any of that out. We have a population of 337 million people. We're lucky if there's maybe 8 to 10 maybe die, if that. a week in this country from police involved shootings, if that. That's pretty doggone good considering the amount of crime that we have. And you're going to sit there and tell me that blacks are so targeted by police that they're just being killed in the streets like dogs, like you always hear by these people on TV? Are you kidding me? Don't believe the hype, people. It's lies. All of it is lies. All of it. You've been lied to. I, for one, am tired of all the lies that have been being told. Tired of it. And they talk about reparations for the blacks because of all that happened to them. Oh, we've been oppressed for 400 years. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. And reparations? I've got your reparations already. It's been paid in full for about 160 years. There were 600,000 plus soldiers and others that died over a 4-year period in what was called the War Between the States, or otherwise known as the Civil War in this nation. 600,000 plus that were killed fighting against slavery. Debt paid in full. You are not owed anything. This is just crazy talk about all this junk. And I have had enough on all of it. I don't know where they get this stuff, but it's nuts. Simple solutions. And the reason why it's a simple solution is because it's already been taken care of. We don't have to do anything more. It's already been done. So let's hope that our freedom fight continues. And I know we have elected a man that truly believes in freedom. There's just no doubt there. You have to really, all this, just this whole talk about him being so bad is the way it comes from the left and the liberals and the Democrats is just so sickening, and it just shows how evil those people are, because here's a man that's a billionaire that basically gave up his wealth, gave up a good life, gave up a paycheck because he donated his presidential salary back to the country and served his nation as president of the United States because he believes in this country. He believes in the Constitution of the United States. He believes in freedom. He believes in everything that this country stands for. What more can you ask of that man? And look at what he has put up with to defend that Constitution. He's a good man. And he's a leader. A lot better than what we had for the last 4 years, where we had no leader. And with that, I'm out of here. I hope we got something accomplished today anyway. I mean, I'm like I said, this stuff comes from right here. And I know I tend to get excited and stuff, and I really firmly believe in what I am saying. I've seen so much, and I know I haven't seen it all. And I know there's probably things that I believe that there's that probably rattle some people, and that's okay. But like I said, I have seen a lot, and I've seen way more than I really would have liked to have seen. But that's how life has been for me. It's not been an easy one for me. But a lot of tragedy, and a lot of tough days, and tough months, and tough weeks, and tough years, and that's why it just got to a point where I said, I need to do this so people can hear from somebody that has had a tough road to follow and has had tough experiences where they've developed how their personality developed and how it developed and what formed it. And that's why I'm doing this, and I feel very strongly about it. So I hope you continue to tune in. I hope you continue to give some thought about what I say, and I hope you decide maybe to let me know uh, what you think and give me some feedback, and that would be great. And if you do, you can email me at bob@bobbenham.com. I'd appreciate that. Or if you want to leave a comment, either on my Facebook page at Real Thoughts with Bob Benham, or here on the YouTube page, that's fine too. And you can watch or check out my website, bobbenham.com. Unfortunately, there's no comments on that because it requires a whole bunch of legalese that I don't have the time or money to have done up. So for now, that's not going to happen. So until I can do that and figure out how to pay for all that, just do it on Facebook or on YouTube. So with that, hope everybody has a great Thanksgiving and enjoy your time with your family. And if you have parents and grandparents, please take the time to listen to what they're talking about, even if you've heard the stories 100,000 times. Enjoy it. They're not going to be here forever. This is my second Thanksgiving without my parents. And I have no grandparents. They've been gone for a while. So when you don't have them anymore, it's very, very tough. And now it's my turn to be the one to be the grandparents and parent and be the one to tell the same stories over and over again. So just enjoy your time with your family because it's special. And the time is priceless. It really is. So with that, God bless you all. Take care of yourselves. And God bless the United States of America. And again, thank you for tuning in. My name's Bob Benham, and this has been Real Thoughts with Bob Benham. Take care. Have a great one. Bye-bye.